Hey, it's Leo here. I think it's day 15, if I'm not mistaken, of 21 days of wellness. And I tell you, today was a day where there needed to be some replacement of chaos, frustration, and confusion with wellness, right? Let me tell you. Now, what I'm going to talk about today is how to get out of a place of non-progress. All right, say that again. How to get out of a place of non-progress, right? And I'm going to talk about a number of things with it, but I'm going to talk about it in regard to sharing with you my experience of being in a place of non-progress. And one of the things I want you to know with regard to today is I teach as a business professor for Lone Star College, Montgomery, right? And right now I have a Wednesday class, and my Wednesday class, when I actually come to the campus, I actually kind of set up shop and do some things, make some things happen, have some meetings on the campus, record my content on the campus, right? And literally, I go in my bag and I realize I did not have my tripod. I did not have my tripod. And here's the thing. In order to do the lives the way I do the lives, I need my tripod. And literally, not having my tripod and not being able to do what I need to do, because I will not sit and hold my phone and do this and try to do the live the whole time. I'm not going to do that. I said, okay, let me stop. Let me take a moment and let me figure out what can I do. So I stopped, took a moment, looked at the things I had around me, and I literally said, let me go talk to my buddy over here in this department, see if he knows somebody. And then he said, you know what? I think these people could help you. This people can help you. And I said, well, okay, let me go check with them. Went check with them. And guess what? Not only did they have a tripod, they had an awesome setup that I could use. And that's the perks of being able to be in an environment that I'm in. But here's the thing. How does that connect with getting yourself out of a place of non-progress? Let me talk to you about it. So there's something that I've been working on. There's a project that I've been working on for a few months. And I got everything set up with this project. The project is moving along well in a certain regard. I got, great relationships in place that are starting to continue to, build. I got conversations that I'm having, all those types of things. But I'm not actually getting over the hump that I want to be over at this stage in my project. And I'm sitting here like, man, okay, what is that? Frustration. What is that? I got a little chaos. What is that? I got some confusion in the thing. And so this phrase that my family and I have been using in our morning conversations and our time of kind of, setting for the morning, there's this phrase we've been using that is getting out of a place of non-progress. And I began to say that to the degree that I was like, okay, I've been saying this, I've been giving regard to this, but I feel like I'm in a place of non-progress. And so I was so in a place of non-progress to where I literally was getting frustrated. I'm talking about seriously frustrated. And if you know me, you've been following me at any point in time, you hear me talk about you have to go from frustration to focus as quickly as possible. And you got to go from feelings to facts as quickly as possible. Well, here's the thing. Sometimes you are in the thick of frustration, in the thick of your feelings by the virtue of the chaos and the confusion and the circumstances that you are feeling, that you kind of might feel like you're in a moment of being blacked out, right? And so being in that moment of feeling like you're blacked out, what you have to do is you have to get yourself kind of composed so you can realize that you're being gripped by frustration and your feelings. And the moment you realize you're being gripped by frustration and your feelings, Then at that point, you can begin to engage your reason, engage your thought process, and position yourself to where you can literally, listen to me carefully, you can literally begin to ask yourself, like, what is it that's holding me back? Now, one of the things I want you to understand that you can do for yourself is to ask yourself a question in the form of what or why, especially why. Why am I not moving forward? What is it that's holding me back? Right? Those two questions are very powerful in moving yourself from a place of non-progress, right? Especially if you want to go from frustration to focus as quickly as possible. You want to go from feelings to facts as quickly as possible. The question you ask yourself is important. So I asked, I was like, man, what is it? What is it that's holding me to a place of non-progress? Now, I tell my daughters this often. I'll ask them a question, or we're talking about something, or, I'm addressing them about something, and they use this phrase, I don't know. I always tell them, you do know. Not only do you know, when you use a period, you act a statement that ends with a period, you position yourself to not be able to access the awareness that you have the capability of accessing. Like, our subconscious is like a perfect computer, right? Our mind, specifically our heart, which is our subconscious, is like a perfect computer. It's got a perfect data storage, and whatever you need to call up, it will come up for you if you call for it, right? And so when it comes down to it with my daughters, I'll say to them, no, you do know. And I have to challenge that, right? That's also to put them in a position so they can move from frustration to focus and move from feelings to facts as quickly as possible, right? And so I say, no, don't say I don't know. Ask yourself, so what is it? Why am I? Why is it that I did this? Why did I think that? What? Ask yourself a what or a why question, especially a why question. Oh my goodness. And you take the moment to actually sit and like ruminate in it. It's going to change the game for you. I promise you. But let me take you a little further within the context of that same vein. A part of my training is being a coach. And not only my training, a part of my services that I offer is coaching people. Coaching at the most specific level, CEOs, business owners, and executives. The most general level, professionals, right? So professionals with families, professionals who are trying to deal with their personal and private life, right? Now, specifically, whether I'm dealing with the business owners, executives, and CEOs, or with the professionals with families who may not be at that supervisory leadership level, specifically, I'm always going to be dealing with my coaching focus from the standpoint of asking them open-ended questions. But that's not what I'm bringing up and why. The reason that I'm bringing this up is because in the context of coaching, it's not just being able to ask great questions. That's important. The truest aspect of it that gives the greatest value is when the question is asked, being able to sit in the silence and wait for the answer. Oh my goodness. I hope you think that's good, because it is. Sit in the silence and wait for the answer. And so here's what I did. I first asked that question. First of all, I gave regard to the fact that I was frustrated about being in a place of non-progress. I was like, man, I'm making gains on this side, but I'm not making gains on this side. And I'm certainly not making gains in the time frame that I want to be making gains. I acknowledged that I was frustrated. I acknowledged that I was in the thick of chaos and confusion, and said, nah, we need to get out of a place and point of weakness, which is in this case a place of non-progress, and get ourselves into that place where we are experiencing wellness. We are benefiting from wellness, right? So I acknowledge it. Then I ask that question, like, what is it that's keeping me in a place of non-progress? Why am I being held in bondage, held captive to a place of non-progress? right? Here's the thing. If you are not willing to ask yourself that question, nor receive the answer to that question, it really doesn't matter if somebody else can ask that question of you, to you, and position you to ask it. Like, you got to be willing to ask that if nobody else does. And if somebody else does, you got to be willing to then translate it as if it is your question and not theirs. That's just a little nugget for you. So, literally, I asked myself, what is it that's holding me to a place of non-progress? And I sat and I waited for the answer. And in waiting for the answer, I was in a position to where I was kind of with my wife and my daughters as this was, taking place. And we began to engage a dialogue. There's some value in you being able to ask that question around people who can hold you accountable, by the way, right? It's great to be able to ask yourself that, but it's also very valuable to be in a position to where there are people that you can sit with, people who know you, people who actually see you for who you are capable of being. They also see you for who you've been being, and they see you for who you being. And then be able to say, okay, so have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Well, we start dialoguing. And not only do we start dialoguing, I start talking about the things that I had on my plate that I needed to accomplish, to achieve, to pursue in order to find myself moving out in the place that I needed to be. And so watch what happens. As we start talking, I start talking about the different things I had on my list, and I start talking about the things that were actually causing me to be disenchanted and actually causing me to feel frustrated and feel the chaos and confusion. And so I was like, man, I really don't need to do this thing because this thing is not going to lead to what I thought it was going to lead to. And if I do it, all I'm going to end up doing is wasting time, and I ain't trying to waste time. And so as a result of not trying to waste time, I was like, I need to take that off. So I just eliminated it. And I use a whiteboard for a lot of these things that I'm working on. So I went and I erased it off the whiteboard. Then there was another thing. I was like, oh, I already took care of that. I didn't erase that. So I need to erase it. And the more I started really evaluating what I had set as tasks for myself that I needed to deal with in order to make the next gains in this project, I began to see that my frustration, my confusion, my chaos, my anxiety started lifting. I was like, okay. So then we started talking about a few other things on the list. It was like, okay, all right, that needs to stay, at least for now, because I don't have a position on that. And I don't think that's going to be a distraction, but I'm not ready to take that off because that's something I probably need to do after I finish these things here. And certainly these things here I need to do because when I do those things, then those things are going to allow me to do this thing over here. Oh, okay. And so literally we started erasing things off the board, putting the right things on the board and saying, okay, guess what? I was refocusing. Not only was I refocusing, one of the things I have discovered about myself, and I don't know this about you, this might be the case. When I find myself in analysis paralysis, it is very certain that I have taken on activities that are creating frustration and chaos and confusion in my feelings to where now I have been captive and held bound, pressed down by anxiety. Do you know you cannot do anything of value or accelerate your success or achieve success in any way if you are in a position to where you are anxious about any of the things you need to do? You actually get held in analysis paralysis because analysis paralysis is like a form of fear. You don't want to move forward because there's a level of fear because your analysis is not clear for you to the degree that it paralyzes you because you don't have a certainty about dominating what's on the other side. Oh man, that's good. That's good. So when we were dealing with getting clarity about what I was supposed to be doing and whether I was actually supposed to be doing it, the more I begin to get clarity about it and realize what I should have been doing and what I shouldn't be doing, then I found myself moving out of that place of non-progress, and certainly out of the place of analysis paralysis to assertive pursuit. Listen to me. Let me tell you something. You do not want to be held in analysis paralysis, which is a place of non-progress, to where everything you do, it seems like it just falls to the ground. You throw it up, it just falls back down. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a true principle that if it falls to the ground, it's a bouncy ball. You want it to bounce back up, right? But that ain't the situation. I'm talking about it falls to the ground and it busts, right? It's like a balloon, not a bouncy ball. You want your stuff to, when it goes up, and if it happens to come down, it's a ball and it's ready to bounce right back. But if you're in a position to where you are in a place of non-progress, and every time you throw something up is like some type of project, some type of effort, some type of pursuit. Every time you throw something up, it seems like it just falls to the ground and it just splatters. You are caught in not only a place of non-progress, but you are held captive by analysis paralysis. And what you need to do is you need to analyze what you are paralytic. Okay, let me not say it that way. You need to analyze the thing that has you paralyzed so that you can rid yourself of it, so that then you can be able to make sure you are moving in the context of assertive pursuit. Let me tell you something. The only way you can truly operate in the context of a wellness of your existence, a wellness of your value, is if you are operating in the lane and vein of assertive pursuit. But if you are caught by analysis paralysis, you are held bondage and bound and captive to a place of non-progress. We got to be in a place of progress, not a place of non-progress, right? And so as we got the clarity, I erased stuff from the board and put the stuff that was supposed to be on the board. Man, I had some fire in me. Matter of fact, one of the things that was on that board that I really needed to be focusing on, I couldn't even start on it. I couldn't even put my energy to it. Why? Because one of those main things that was on that board, that was on my to-do list, my task list, my planner, however you want to look at it, that was on my whiteboard, that thing, I was literally not wanting to do it. Why? Because it didn't need to be on my board. Let me tell you something. I kind of got this from Lisa Nichols years ago. Lisa Nichols said there was a point in her life where she came to a place of maturity, that she came to understand that if she felt uneasy about something, I'll have to check my microphone because y'all know how sometimes it can, do its thing. If she felt uneasy about something, what she, instead of just dwelling on the uneasiness and just wallowing in the feelings and the frustrations, she learned how to evaluate what she was feeling, because whatever she was feeling was designed to communicate to her something she needed to perfect, something she needed to adjust, something she needed to address in order to move forward. And I remember her saying that, and I was like, that's good. In other words, what she's saying is, one of the things that holds us to a place of non-progress is dwelling on how we feel rather than dominating how we feel to draw from what we feel so we can do what we need to do. Like, draw the insights from it, like understand. And I've talked about this in a past live, but draw from the insights in what we're feeling, because it really comes to be like a data point to us to empower us in what it is we need to progress in, right? And so when you're in a place of non-progress, again, like I said, you got to go from frustration to focus as quickly as possible. You got to go from feelings to facts as quickly as possible. Do not be held captive by your feelings. Do not be held captive by your frustration. Because if you are, then you are actually, there's a phrase in my head and I had to slow it down because I was about to overtalk myself. You're actually becoming an ally to your adversity in a destructive manner, which actually looks like self-sabotage, right? When you dwell on your feelings and your frustrations, you actually position yourself to self-sabotage. I don't want you to do that. Not to mention, I don't want you to do it because it has sucked to self-sabotage. I didn't really think it was self-sabotage, but when you are held captive in analysis paralysis in a place of non-progress, you are literally being rendered captive to then being an ally to your self-sabotage. Man, that sucks. So I realized that the biggest thing on that board that was holding me captive, that was keeping me from moving in progress, had me just held in a place of non-progress. That thing, once I eliminated it from my whiteboard, man, let me tell you, I mean, I had almost like a lightning bolt of energy. Like I could see everything clearly. Matter of fact, I could see how my thought process of doing for others is doing for self. I could see how my thought process of being compassionately generous and commercially generous had even more picture and viability within the context of the actions that I need to take. I saw how I could be consistent in be consistent in meeting the needs of those who could not help themselves and could not do back for me. I saw how I could actually help the completely vulnerable and the partially vulnerable all in those tasks that were left on my whiteboard. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. A lot of times, being in a place of non-progress, what's happening is you have something weighing you down that you've put on your shoulders. You have some type of bag, some type of weight from something, some type of situation, some type of so-called opportunity, some type of relationship, something you have taken on to yourself that you really shouldn't have taken onto yourself, but you thought you should have taken it onto yourself because of what you thought it was going to produce. And literally by going in and assessing the thing that you are in the analysis paralysis of to determine if it's worth being there will actually recenter you, refocus you, put you in a place where you can actually begin to see what will enable you to make progress. Let me say this. It was what I put on my whiteboard for me to do. Why you say it that way, Leo? Even if somebody suggests an idea to you, even if somebody suggests a perspective to you, if somebody suggests an opportunity to you, we personally have the authority alone to decide if it comes into our sphere of influence. We do. So I put on my board what was there. No matter who contributed to it, I took absolute responsibility for the fact that I put what was there on that whiteboard and needed to deal with whether or not it needed to be done or if I was going to do it. Or if it didn't need to be done and I wasn't going to do it. A part of being able to get out of a place of non-progress is being able to understand what will not allow us to influence progress, what will not enable us to achieve that progress. What is it that's holding us from progressing, right? The biggest thing on my whiteboard was the thing that would not allow me to progress, but I still had it there as something I needed to do in progressing, and I just needed to eliminate it so that it could give me a sense of relief and refreshingness about what it is that I was not only capable of doing, but was going to do. I kid you not. When I eliminated the stuff off the board, because I kind of, slacked up a little bit a day or two and hadn't gone back to my board and assessed what was on it and went back to that board. When I eliminated the thing that I didn't need to do, but also make sure I took off the things that I had already accomplished and made happen, I'm going to come back to that in a moment. It literally fueled me with energy for what I needed to do next, but also for one of those main things that I needed to take care of on that list. One of the things I need to take care on that board. It positioned me to be able to start getting my downloads again. Here's something else that I want to make note of before I jump off of here. One of the things that is very important, and this is one of the aspects that fueled me, it was that the things that I had already done that I wrote on my whiteboard, when I erased them, and didn't erase them from the standpoint that it wasn't something I needed to do, but something I had already accomplished, I actually erased it. And in doing so, allowed myself to be connected with credibility with myself. So that credibility that I built with myself by saying I was going to do it, and I actually did what I said I was going to do, and then I could reflect just in a short moment what it is that I said I was going to do, and I did it, and I can reflect on how it was done and how well it was done just in the moment of erasing it. That's the power of our subconscious. That's the power of this intellect, intelligence, and language capability we have. As a result of that, it fueled me even more. It actually positioned me to where the downloads I was able to start receiving for the work that I needed to be working on, the next aspect in my task that I needed to deal with. I was able to literally have the value of the previous accomplishments, the previous successes, the previous achievements to give value to it. Listen, more than anything, here's what I want you to understand. How to get out of a place of non-progress, desire to get out of it. Do you know there are a lot of people that they say they want to get out of a place of non-progress, but that's not the same thing as a desire. They want to get out of a place of non-progress, but that's not the same thing as a desire. A desire is actually the, if you will, the twin of belief. Meaning when you think rightly, your thoughts will then influence what you believe, and your beliefs will then settle your desires. It will establish your desires, and the beliefs and the desires that you establish, it actually translates into emotion that then shows up in your actions. Woo, that's good. You must desire to eliminate yourself from being in a place of non-progress. And here's the thing. I lived a lot of my life not really knowing that I could desire to get out of a place of non-progress. I actually thought, I really did believe, watch this. I didn't desire it because I had a belief, right? I believed that if I wasn't progressing, but I was doing certain things, I was getting certain things done, and, I was active, and let me just tell you, activity is not necessarily accomplishment, okay? Remember that. I got that from John Maxwell. Activity is not necessarily accomplishment. And I had the thought process that if I was active and I was actually getting things done, but it was not the right things done, that I was accomplishing something. That ain't what it is. No. If you're going to accomplish anything, especially the right things, you need to be doing the right things. You need to have the right activity to actually accomplish what it is you're trying to accomplish. But I had a flaw in my belief system, and I thought because I was active that I should have been accomplishing. Nah. If you don't do the right things, you don't get the right results. Watch this. I love talking about trees. Y'all know that if you've been following me. If you put an apple seed in the ground, are you going to get an orange seed? I mean, orange, not only orange tree, orange fruit? No. If you put a fig seed in the ground, are you only going to get pomegranates? Nope. If you put something on the vine, if you put a grape seed in the ground, are you going to get an olive tree? No. No. You have to, the thing you want to accomplish, the things you want to see come about, you need to make sure you have the things that are corresponded to them. And as it pertains to a place of non-progress, if you desire to be in a place of progress and not in a place of non-progress, you have to have the right belief. You have to know that being in a place of non-progress is not something for you. And let me tell you, if you're not sure, Being in a place of non-progress is not for you. With your intellect, your intelligence, and your language capabilities as the highest form of anything in this earth, guess what? Progress is what you were supposed to be about. Me too. We together. And so I want to encourage you to not be enchanted by, not be comfortable with, not be okay with being in a place of non-progress. You don't have to be in the analysis paralysis captivity. You can literally relieve yourself, remove yourself, get out of that place of non-progress. You can replace a place of non-progress with a place of progress. You can replace analysis paralysis with assertive pursuit. You can replace your chaos, your frustration, your confusion in your work, in your family, in your life with wellness. The question is, do you believe it so you can desire it? All right, getting off my podium. I want you to be well. And as I often say, be great. You hear me now?